Okay. All right, so let's get ready to get started. So today we're gonna have our coaching meeting, and this coaching meeting is based off of various observations that I've seen, my walkthroughs, my quick wins when I come through, your informal, because I didn't do your formal, so your informal and things like that.
Okay.
So first we start off with see the success, and when I talk about see the success, that's where I see the good things that you've done in your class. So just from our previous observations, 8th grade, 5th grade, kindergarten and things, and other classroom students seem to be very engaged in the lesson. During your informal, you explain to students what will take place during the lesson. You model for students, and students participated in your lesson. So those are my see the success models for that.
Okay.
Today, I want to focus, zone in on your classroom management skills with students. During my observations, I know that it's been a little struggle when it comes to classroom management. You write up a lot of kids, and you know, there are some struggles when it comes to managing the behaviors in the classroom for that. So when you clap for students' attention, sometimes you don't have 100%, or students are yelling out answers and not raising their hands. You have to say shh repeatedly. So tell me, give me some reflection, just some honest reflection around your classroom management skills.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had ups and downs with classroom management. I think I've just had to kind of figure out what works for me and what works for my teaching style. So one thing that I've had to do, I started a long time ago, is just really positive, as much as I can, being positive in my approach. So for example, if most of the kids are doing the right thing, there's only one or two kids not, then praising the kids that are doing the right thing, especially who are near the ones that aren't, sometimes can alleviate me having to call out certain people. And I do that as much as I can to try and like stay positive, if nothing else, only for my own personal mental health. But also it has a better classroom dynamic when I'm being positive. One thing I started thinking about recently, even just in the past few days, is my usage of Kickboard. And I think Kickboard is like a really good thing, and I do like it, and I use it. And I started using it more and more I've always used it for positive, but I'm trying more and more to use it for positive, like, and as opposed to, oh, this person's not paying attention, this person's not doing this, because it doesn't really teach them a whole lot. And even just the act of doing something on my phone is an intervention, because like, I like the way so-and-so is, so-and-so, boom, and then it's just instant positive feedback for them. And it's telling the kids that are misbehaving that, yes, I'm watching you, and no, it's not okay what you're doing, and accomplishes most of the purpose of what it's supposed to do, you know. But for me, Kickboard has been a really helpful thing that I've never had before. It's brand new for me, but I do like it.
And next week, we're going to really dive into the usage of Kickboard. I'm glad you said that. So next week, during our grade level meeting, we're going to really dive into the usage of Kickboard and really talk about like how to really use it and how it could be an effective tool in our class. So with that being said, before we watch the video I have for you, I have a question. So with Kickboard, you can give out positive and you can give out negative consequences on that. So just as a form of feedback really quickly, and I'm gonna add this to your action steps at the end too, I want you to practice having a balance. Because now that you told me that, I think some of the issue is that not having a balance. Some kids need to know that you're on it.
Yeah.
That yes, I'm a very positive person and we can have an amazing time in music, but there's a level of respect that needs to take place for you as a teacher.
Yeah, that happens all day long.
Oh my God. For you as a teacher. So for you as a teacher, and that, don't open this door no more. It's rude. Stop. Get in line accordingly. Jonathan, close your mouth.
Story of my life.
Oh my God. I have to figure out how to edit that out.
Yeah.
All right. So, but I think that there needs to be the respect for you as a teacher. So you have to have both the firm and finesse with that. So you got to have both. So I want to show you this, and this is just a few things. So we do a lot of like Doug Lemov with that. So these are what we call strong voice strategies. So in the strong voice strategies, there's a few things. Economy of language, which means when you have the economy of language, you are very sweet and to the point, straight to the point. So if you're saying you're gonna come in, have a seat, take out your folder, those are the directions that you are giving. And then you can also use Kickboard and say, ooh, I like the way such and such came in and did that. I like the way such and such came in and do that. And then you give one reminder, Keon, you didn't do that. I like the way such and such came in. I like the way such and such came in. Keon, not following directions, negative Kickboard point. But you're still giving out your positives, and you're still making a point where you need to follow the rules in my class. So I think that's where the unbalanced is, where you have the positive going, but you also need to let them know that they still need to follow the rules in your class, and if you don't, this is what happened. And also, that's when your steps come in as well too, about, and those are also in Kickboard too. So if you're not following directions the first time, if that's your step one, you let them know, step one. And so then that's when they are moved down your step ladder for parent contact. So you need to be very concise about what is happening in your classroom when it comes to that. So, but the one thing that I want you to focus on is the 100%. But hold on, this is the strong voice, so let's see. It's mine.
So now we're gonna learn a new word, communicate. Communicate is when you want to talk or tell somebody something. When you want to give somebody some information, you communicate with them. There are lots of different ways of communicating, but if you were a penguin, how would you communicate with a friend?
Okay, just from
So
that.
she
She
stopped
stopped.
for
I
a
was gonna say,
second.
she stopped for a
Yeah.
second to make sure she had everyone's attention. And I think that's so important when you do that. I'm glad you saw that. So here's the other one.
So when they say that Lily is imagining things,
Getting students to do what you ask when you ask is a necessary teaching skill.
about lots of things that most people wouldn't normally think about. Okay? So when we're thinking about
This is
that,
Juliana
we
Wara.
should keep that
One of her
in mind
students
as
in
we
this
read the
lesson
rest of
isn't
the
as
story.
attentive as she
Lily
was,
has a
so she
very
immediately stops
active,
talking
as you were
in
saying,
the middle of her
active
sentence.
imagination. So she thinks about things that
Doing this shows that what she says is necessary and important. That makes kids more likely to listen. Juliana makes it very clear, with a minimum of words and no lecture, that she expects
about
attentiveness.
when you first meet someone, but
Let's watch it one more time.
most people wouldn't normally think about.
You'll notice the distraction is hardly a major one.
About that. I want you to keep that in mind as you read the rest of the story. Lily has a very active, as you were saying, active imagination. So she thinks about things
We
that
call that catching it early. Addressing off-task behavior while it's still small makes the fix
them being
simple.
I can barely
like
even
them
tell who
doing
was
a
doing it.
science
Yeah. So, so definitely using different strategies to, make sure that you're keeping their attention. But the one that we're gonna focus on today is just really 100%.
Action is the moment
Oh,
when
hold
we
on.
take our analysis of student learning
Hold
and
on,
apply.
it's still going.
Yeah, you showed me one on that last time, I think.
Right, which
I'm
is
waiting for one, I'm waiting for two.
Right,
you know,
so,
stuff like
so
that.
that's the 100%, but also how to get everyone's attention in the classroom.
Okay.
So here's,
One of the techniques you'll read about in the book is called 100%. It's about how champion teachers get 100% of students to do what they ask 100% of the time. That may sound like a recipe for conflict, but when you watch champions at work, you'll see that it's all about finesse. First, like
See the
Colleen
finesse.
Driggs, champions use the least invasive form of intervention. The idea is to avoid breaking the thread of instruction. Colleen corrects with hand gestures, and that means the teaching goes on. If you've got one kid who's off task and you interrupt the task for everyone to fix it, you'll end up with 3 more kids off task. And when you stop to fix them, it will happen again. Minimally invasive correction helps avoid that death spiral. Champions like Bob Zimmerly are also careful about keeping correction private when possible.
I need 3 people. You know who you are. I need 2 people.
Even in a more explicit correction, Jamie Volante focuses on describing the solution, not the problem. And she makes her correction an exercise in purpose. The problem is the student's not getting the answer right, not power. But like all 100% teachers, she's consistent about correcting every time she can.
And then when I ask you a question and you didn't have the answer, that tells me you need to work harder if you're going to get the right answer. Your eyes should be on the speaker at all times.
Even with all this finesse, you can't always keep your correction of an off-task student private. But champions limit the amount of time when corrected students are on stage with other eyes on them. Here, Bob manages to move the class's attention to something positive almost immediately after a public correction.
I don't have Marissa, but I do have Jasmine.
All of which gets you to the point.
so I want you to just focus on that one part when he
Yeah.
said, I don't have Marissa, but I do have Jasmine.
Yeah.
So tell me, just from looking at this video, what can be some of your classroom actions that you can take to make sure you have everyone's attention still being positive, but also giving out the consequences as well? How can you do that?
Well, I think you definitely have to acknowledge the behaviors, and that's key. You can't. One of my strategies used to be to ignore as much as possible, and unfortunately, that usually doesn't work that well. So acknowledging it, but how do you acknowledge it? When you acknowledge it, can you just basically say something really quick, or use a hand gesture? I don't think they're at the point right now, where I could use hand gestures, but I would have to teach it to them and
Exactly, you have to
have them
build
work
that up.
with it and build it up. But yeah, acknowledging it right away, and then immediate. If I have to say their name, if it gets to the point where I have to say their name, then yeah. But as much as possible, not saying their names and just saying 2 people as opposed to Johnny and Jenny or whatever. I noticed with that video. And then not call, like if there's a slightly bigger issue, going over to the student directly and having a private conversation. And then going immediately right back to the whole classroom so that you don't lose more people while you're trying to have a conversation.
Okay, so what about how to do the positive plus the negative? So how would you say you have this person, but I don't have this person? So how would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, they could do that same thing, with Kickboard, it's just a matter of, and I was doing it today, I was, instead of doing the kids that were not listening, I did the kids that were listening. And I listed them off as I said their name. And then when I got to somebody who was particularly loud, I said, well, I don't have so-and-so. Or I said something like that. I don't know if I said this exactly, but I can't give you a point because you're talking, something like that.
What could you have said differently with this, instead of I can't give you a point because you're talking? What could you have done differently?
Maybe more frame it positively, like, I'd like to give you a point, and then just leave it at that, or something.
Had you already set the expectation that it was supposed to be quiet in the classroom?
I was attempting to make that expectation. I mean, I was through that process. I can't remember. I probably did a clapping thing.
Okay.
you know.
So that's my next
And it
question.
wasn't
What is your
effective or
go-to
something.
when you try to get the class attention?
Yeah, there's a couple. I have two different clapping ones. The one is just I'll do that one, which everyone seems to know, but then I'll go from there and do different ones, so they actually have to listen to it in order to copy it properly. You know what I mean? So like I would, different rhythms.
And what do you do when you don't get all the kids to clap at the same time?
Sometimes I'll use proximity. I'll just go walk near the kids that are talking and do it right by them and look at them.
Do you repeat the process?
As far as
The
I'll
clapping,
keep clapping. Like I could clap sometimes 5 minutes at a
Okay.
time if needed. And the whole time mixing it up, doing different rhythms, so they actually have to listen to it in order to get it right.
Do you ever try something different after, for example, after you do the clapping, do you try a different technique?
Yeah. So something that sticks out in my head is I like the way so and so is, or even when I'm doing the clapping thing, if I see that only 1 or 2 kids are doing it, I'll say thank you so and so, thank you so and so, and then I'll do it again, and then I get 3 or 4 more, and I'll say thank you to those new people.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Because they were listening now at that point, and that helps. It helps.
Do you ever tell kids what you want them to do after the clapping? So do you say, and then they clap, and do you say eyes on me?
Right.
Or do you
Sometimes,
say-
but not all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, a few things that I'm noticing. So, with your clapping technique, so after you clap, make sure you follow it up with the thank yous, which is a great thing to do. But also make sure you follow it up with what you want kids, what you want kids to do after you do the
Yeah.
clapping. So if you're clapping, and then clap back. All right, eyes on me, and go straight into your lesson after you receive your 100%. And your 100% with clapping is the sound. In your eyes, you can visually see who is clapping, and you can hear how loud the clap is.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing is, what I find to be effective is call and response. Eyes on me, and the kids will say,
1, 2, 3, or
eyes on
whatever
you.
it is.
Exactly. So call and response is
Yeah.
also effective too when you are trying to get kids' attention for that. But what I want you to practice is make sure that when kids are clapping that you have what? What do you?
Everybody. 100%.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Like that you have everybody. That you have everybody. Also, in the video, it talks about using the least restricted, the least invasive technique. So that means, like you said, not calling out everybody. But however, when the guy said, I have such and such, but I don't have such and such. So you got to balance that positive and negative out. So you
Yeah.
can say, thank you to da-da-da-da, thank you to da-da-da, I need da-da-da-da, I need da-da-da-da. And you're giving out your points up. You're not following directions, and you're not doing it in a mean way, a negative way, but you got to find the balance with the positive and the negative to balance out your classroom so that kids know the rules and regulations in your classroom and you have the respect when it comes to the students for that.
Okay.
So I found this video very interesting for numerous reasons. One is because a lot of teachers, a lot of people don't like to, per se, practice when they are being coached. So this is Robert Hager. He's a music teacher at Tarkington, which is an AUSL school in Chicago.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And he's getting strong voice coaching.
There's a lot of things that he naturally did well. He's a very caring person, and you could tell in his presence with the younger kids that he was enthusiastic about teaching music.
Our music resident sees 1st through 8th grade students. It's really hard making that shift between so many grade levels. Our building has over 1,000 students. So, it's a little bit harder for specials residents to sometimes keep up with a lot of their classroom residents. So we were having a little bit of a hard time with management, specifically kind of that, classroom manager.
My MRC suggested that we start working on strong voice coaching, and it sort of evolved over a couple conversations because I'm generally a pretty soft-spoken person, and
Which you are a
for me,
very
it's something that's
soft-spoken person.
awkward
Right.
to work on in the classroom.
Bobby and I talked, and I said, so who can we channel, right? Because he said, I am all about positive framing. I'm all about the community.
This reminded me
and
so much of you.
Which is wonderful. We want our teachers to have that, but they need to be able to go also from warm to strict. So I said, who is that strict person? Who is that character, that, if you will, that alter ego that you can channel so that you can move between the warm and strict? He said that Bruce Lee's birthday happened to fall on the same day as his birthday. So we said, you know what, let's roll with it.
It started off as a fun sort of experiment, and it also kind of maintained, for me at least, that sort of fun, a little bit goofy element so that you can detach yourself from the situation, which for me was important because it can be so awkward to put yourself out on the line like that. But then if you have that bit of separation, you can say, okay, right now I'm shifting into Bruce Lee mode, whether it's with Lily or in the classroom. Giving yourself that permission to detach your personality and become someone else for a moment who is nothing like you is important.
You know, we watch movies, we watch superheroes, we watch these kind of larger than life characters like Bruce Lee because they are that. They are larger than life, and we've all imagined at some point in our lives being that person. So that's what we were trying to do. So once we watched some videos and talked through some of the things that we saw, we went into Shikari, sit up, put your feet on the floor, eyes on me.
So he was practicing economy of language.
Shikari, sit down, put your feet on the floor, and your eyes on me.
Great, and next time, just pull your shoulders back a little bit more. Again, I know it'll feel
Oh, how to say it, how to stand, and how to all
Yeah,
that.
yes.
Because I know I've been conscious of my
Over and over
own
again until
my own posture.
Yes.
Even though, I mean, things are hard to unlearn over so many years.
It is.
So.
So there's a technique from Doug Lamar called square up and stand still. You stand straight up, you
Yeah.
make eye contact direct, your shoulders are back, and you give students direction.
Yeah.
So your action steps for your coaching. We're going to practice. We're going to practice 100% today. And that's just going to be your one action step. So when I come next week really quickly, I'll come to a class. I want to see how you've been practicing getting students 100%, balancing the positive and the negative. So I want you to practice giving out positive and negatives today. So I'm going to be your student, and then you're going to clap or whatever your attention getter is. And I'm going to keep talking, and then you can pretend other kids are in the classroom. But then I want you to practice how you're going to give the positive and the negative.
Okay.
Okay?
I think I get it.
You got it?
So we're gonna do it right now.
Yeah, right now.
Okay. So you're gonna be a student.
I'm the student in the classroom,
Okay.
so you can pretend you're teaching and we're learning. The lesson just ended and you want to transition, or the class is too loud, but we can pretend that the lesson just ended and you want to transition. So the lesson just ended and the class is talking and you want to get everybody's attention. What do you do? Show me.
Okay. All right. So stand up.
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay.
Da, 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 singing, lift every voice.
All right.
Lift every voice.
All right. Let's try that again. Great job, Ms. Woods. And let's.
No, keep going.
All right. Let's move on. Looks like we got everybody. I don't know.
So what I want you to practice is, for instance, if there's a student who is not on track. So for
Okay.
that, so have a seat. So it looks something
Okay.
like this. So if I'm up here teaching and I'm going, all right, now we're gonna get ready to transition. And then you
Okay.
clap. Then I say, thank you. I need 100%. Let's try that again. Thank you, Mia, for your 100%. Thank you, Keon, for your 100%. Alex, you did not give me 100%. Not following directions. oh, you get an excellence point for giving me 100%. All right, let's move it on. So that's what I'm talking about, the balance. So making sure after you did your whole group reset, you acknowledge the kids that did it, and you acknowledge the kids who didn't do it by giving them a negative consequence on just a kickboard point. Also, all right, let's get ready to transition. Eyes on me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's also another way that you can see who was given 100% and who was listening, and that's also how you can say, thank you, Mia. Thank you, such and such. You did not follow directions. That is did a negative point on kickboard, and keep moving from that. Just do it really quickly. And even if Kim goes, do not engage. You gave a consequence, and you move on from that. So just making sure that you have 100%. Kids know what to do after you have given the direction. So clap, give the direction, give the positive and negative points for that. So let's see. Clap, give the direction, give the positive and negative voice. Clap, give the direction, give the positive and negative points.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what the next direction is going to be. What we're going to do after this. Maybe we'll, yeah, okay. Just eyes on me, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Good job, Ms. Woods. All right, we need 2 more. All right, I like the way this table. I still need this table here. Not quite. Let's do it correct. Here we go.
Keep going.
Good job. All right, we got 1 more over here, and then. All right, I like the way you got quiet. Every eyes on me. We're gonna move to the next thing. Go ahead and put everything away. Eyes on me. I need this table over here. Eyes on me. Okay. You know.
So you would say like, thank you, Mia, for eyes. Thank you, such as for eyes. Not following directions because you've given them chances. You set the expectation multiple times. So at this point, after you set the expectation multiple times, they should know what to do. So you said eyes on me. You said let's get ready to get our things together. So if they are not meeting the expectation, that's when the consequence needs to take place for that. So you set the expectation. You've clapped. You made sure you had 100%. You told them what to do. You want them to get their things together. You said eyes on me. So when they are not meeting their expectation, then you need to give them a consequence. Right. And you can balance your positive. You can give the kids who are adhering to your expectation a point, and the kids that are not, a negative point for that. And once they hear the negative points come out, then their attitude will change.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, as far as the consequences. So I can give immediate consequences. Like, I'm trying to figure out what to jump to first. Like, kickboard would be a first thing to jump to, right?
So on kickboard, those consequences are on kickboard.
Oh, okay.
So when you say step 1 warning, you can go right into kickboard and say warning, because they are located on kickboard for that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's something we're gonna talk about next week as well too. So when you go into kickboard, warning, step 1, and that's why kids need to know what is step 1.
Yeah.
So when I say step 1, that means warning, and it's in kickboard. Boom. When I say step 2, I'm changing your sheet, and that is also a negative point in kickboard as well too. So that you can also use that to your advantage as well too. So it's like you're not following directions, warning in kickboard for that, and you will put it in as warning, not following directions. Yeah. Plain and simple like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So let's come back and have a seat. So just to recap really quickly, because we have like a minute. Thank you so much, Mr. Bradley, for doing that.
Yeah.
So we have like a minute. So your action steps are going to be what? So just for this week, you're going to practice what?
Getting 100%.
Getting 100%. And how are we going to do that?
Either clapping or any other strategies that I can think of that work. If we're already doing something that involves clapping, then the clapping thing's not going to work.
Right. So then what can you say like?
I would have to say something to the effect of eyes on me.
Yep, countdown.
Or countdown from 5.
Yep.
I noticed they're used to that one because a lot of teachers around here use that one. So, It's worked well for me. I tried it a couple times in the last few days, the counting down, and that worked better than I expected.
Yes, that
Only
does.
because they're already trained by the other teachers.
And with
to
the
use
countdown, what will you tag on to the countdown?
that. Like, what do I expect them to do at the end of the
Yep.
countdown? Like, in five, you should be seated, or you should be listening, or you should have your eyes on me, or all three.
And then after you give them the expectation, what will you do next?
Start awarding consequences, like not consequences, but positives and negative. People who are doing it, people who are not doing it, and based on who's participating, giving kickboard points and things.
Okay, perfect. So, clapping, eyes on me, countdown with an expectation, and when students are adhering or not, you will balance it out with positive and negative. Okay, all right.